That's Max Keiser. Max, of course, is the inventor of the Hollywood Stock Exchange system. He's also a TV host on BBC, Russia Today, Press TV, 3 different TV shows this year, weekly TV shows. He also has a radio show in London, and he is a frequent guest here at good old INFOWARS.com and on the radio show. And I'm excited that Jesse Ventura's crew is also interviewing him coming up soon for the new TV show, Conspiracy Theory, that I'm also in and a consultant on. So a lot going on, and I'm glad I've been introduced to Max Keiser's big international audience, and I'm excited to introduce him to our audience. I think it's a great event that's happening. This is a short segment. We'll come back in a long one and cover a lot of other issues, but commodities starting to go up, gold exploding, the media lying, saying the economy's good, underwear sales are up for men. They say that's always an indicator of a economy going up. What do you really see happening with this economy? I see the tens of trillions of dollars the banks have hoarded starting to trickle out and cause some action, but overall, jobless rates, unemployment, the Rust Belt. I mean, the real economy, what I see is falling apart. What does Max Keiser, with all of his economic acumen and gravitas, tell us?
The reason underwear sales are up for men is because a lot of men are making doo-doo in their pants. The economy is so bad.
I was going to say that, but I didn't.
They got no job, they got no prospects, and they're incontinent. So they get out of the store and they buy some fresh underwear, but they can't keep in stock because the economy is so bad. You got a president who thinks he's starring in The West Wing Part 2. I don't even think he knows he's the president. I think he's trying to get an Emmy Award. In 4 years' time, they're going to give him an Emmy Award. He won't even know he was in the White House. It's a complete joke. You've got the capitalism is failing. You've got systemic collapse. So naturally, gold is pushing $1,000 again. And let's talk about gold for a second, Alex Jones, because I was in Germany making a film about gold at the Bundesbank, which is the central bank of Germany, which acts more or less as the central bank of Europe. We went in there, we talked to them about gold, and they told us that, and I mentioned to them, I asked them, where is most of your gold? And they said, well, our gold is held in New York. And this created a huge international uproar, which got the attention of a lot of gold.
Exactly. I saw that. And again, that's just you as a real journalist asking a real question. Then you ask New York, and they say Germany's got our gold.
Right. Well, what's come out, and if you go to sites like the Gold Action Trust Action Committee and other sites that track the gold markets, Germany has been complicit in this scheme to keep the gold price down. And them, along with the Wall Street banks, they lease out or lend gold to be sold in the open market with a wink and a nod, and because they know that they're going to keep selling this gold into the market to force the price down, to give these banks easy or riskless profits as part of the collusion between the central banks and the Wall Street banks. So this so-called growth you're talking about is all based on market manipulation. These stocks like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and these other financial stocks are up big because basically it's the government buying stock for themselves. They're laundering money. All those TARP funds and all those bailout funds that they were on the receiving end after Paulson held Congress hostage, they now have to figure out how to launder that money, just like any mafia kingpin has to launder the money. So they go into the stock market, they buy these bank stocks, they suck in the public buys into it, CNBC and Jim Cramer stomps up and down, says, buy bank stocks, buy the market, the suckers come in again, they launder the money, then they're out. So once again, the public is being hoodwinked. The pension funds are being destroyed.
Max, you said months ago, Bob Chapman said months ago, Ron Paul said months ago, all our experts here said the same thing. In fact, 6 months ago, people like Bob Chapman wrote it and on record that they would first run the market down to 6,000, then run it back up 10, 11, 12, or even higher as a suckers rally, and that they would do that by the big central banks, dumping all the money they'd stolen from taxpayers into the market, and that it was completely rigged, and that they would then plunge it even further. Is the plunging we're seeing the start of that, or is this just a hiccup? Will it continue to go up before they really rape the slaves?
Look, the people are on the short end of the stick, and on your show, Alex, I have talked about the casino gulag economy, about the only way that they're going to keep these suckers rolling is to introduce more gambling in the United States. And sure enough, in Kansas, the heartland of America, just announced that they're going to start introducing gambling. Why? Because there's no other way to stimulate the economy than vice. The mafia makes tons of money selling gambling, sex, and money laundering and other, murder for hire and these other activities. This is what the local governments, the municipal governments, and the federal government knows. The only way they can raise money is to get into the gambling business. So now Kansas is going to go gambling. You're going to see gambling all over the...
Not only will the state now, as you predicted, allow gambling, they're going to own it. That's the Associated Press. Revenue-hungry Kansas will be owner of new casinos. Max Keiser, MaxKeiser.com is our guest. I'm Alex Jones. Our websites are InfoWars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. And we'll be right back with Max Keiser, the one, the only.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Nothing.
Yeah, when I saw this morning, because Max had emailed it to me, and I appreciate that, Max, the Associated Press, and he sent me a bunch of other stories where everything's happening. Now major states are going to own the casinos themselves. I mean, it's where the government, same thing with Russia. The government is now just going to own all the vice. That's why they've always had laws against vice, so they can tax it and regulate it and control it. A license is an authorization to do something that would be illegal. So owning a gun's illegal, having a car is illegal if they make you get a license. That turns it into something illegal. But we're shifting towards this. And continue, Max Keiser.
Yeah, in 1989, the Berlin Wall came down, and, Yeltsin, who was then in charge, gave away all the industries to the Russian oligarchs. Now, in the United States, when the Glass-Steagall Wall came down, separating the banks and brokers, it took a few years, but now we see the results, plus a couple of other deregulatory moves that happened since then. But in effect, it's the same plan. The nation's wealth is being given away to the nation's oligarchs. The American economy is run by oligarchs.
And this was done in a premeditated fashion, and they put the police state in place beforehand to now try to use it to suppress people. Go ahead.
Right. I mean, you say the roads in Texas are owned by a Spanish company. Of course the roads in Texas are owned by a Spanish company. All the toll booth roads, all the bridges, all the ports are being sold off to foreign investors in exchange for these massive debts that have been run up for years, and there's no possible way to pay them back. The total debt and burden of the U.S. is now $70 trillion. The interest on that debt alone will never, ever be paid back, even if America puts in 100% of their income as a tax for 10, 20, 30 years. They're never going to pay it back. So the U.S. is left to give foreign creditors more and more of America's infrastructure, all of its, what some call selling the cow and then buying the milk. Okay, so America's giving away their toll roads, giving away their ports, giving away their infrastructure, selling it on the cheap, basically in exchange for debt forgiveness. And now Americans are going to have to pay through the nose to be on their own property, to pay on their own roads. They're going to be paying foreign creditors. And that deal in Texas for the Texas roads is just one example of a trend going coast to coast. In California, the economy is technically bankrupt, and they're giving away and selling huge portions of that economy to foreign creditors, as happening all over the United States. Because the U.S. is too much in debt, and nobody in government is saying that the U.S. has to get off its debt addiction, which brings me to a very interesting topic, which I want to get into, which is this whole health care debate, and it's an interesting debate because basically it pits two forces in the American economy against each other. There are those in the economy that want to charge monopoly pricing for healthcare. That's the oligarchs, which include the insurance companies. And then the other side of the coin is, there's a possibility of paying competitive prices for healthcare. That is that people in America would pay a competitive price. There would be free competition in the health business and the insurance industry, so the consumer would benefit from competition. But this debate under Obama's watch, and he's been completely asleep on this, is allowing the oligarchs to say, no, what's best for America is the oligarch monopoly pricing. So I'm putting a challenge. I'm putting a challenge to you, your listeners, and anyone listening. I'm talking to the same people I talked to a couple years ago in London when we were putting together our hedge fund. And I'm trying to organize right now $1 million payout to Americans, $1 million payout to the victims of the U.S. health insurance industry. All we need to do is get the price of Whole Foods stock. And remember, the CEO of Whole Foods recently came out and said he was against competitive health pricing.